What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Burning Questions podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. We have just 2 weeks left to go in the season. It feels like it is fading a little bit, but we are going to do our best to hopefully bring some exciting few picks to you for the final couple of games, because some teams, like our teams, Chelsea, have something to play for over the final 2 weeks. And there are a few others as well, which we will talk about. We'll go into all of that good stuff. We'll talk about which players are on the beach, who to target, and everything else. If someone in the chat could just put a thumbs up that everything is looking and sounding okay. But Tom, how are we doing?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. Off the back of a -8, which was nerve-wracking, selling Salah and Isak. But we survived, down to 120k now. So top 50k is off the cards, but I need to focus on getting back the top 100k.
Do you know how many points away from it you are?
Yeah, of course I do.
How many is it?
It's 7, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, interesting, because I'm 7 inside the top 10k. We have the same.
Good defending, yeah.
I'm 7 inside, you're 7 outside, so slightly it's the same point gap. I had the same. I took a -8 this week. It didn't pay off. It could have gone a lot worse than it did. It could have gone a hell of a lot better than it did, though. So we'll have a look at both of those. But feels weird 2 weeks before the end of the season we're both sat here talking about -8s. Probably shouldn't be talking about -8s with 2 weeks left, but we will start with mine. So I got 64 points. I got 30 points on the bench boost and 34 points in my starting 11. The bench boost absolutely bailed me out. So I took a -8. I sold Marmoush for Wissa about 15 minutes before the deadline, once we heard that Marmoush wasn't going to start. And I'd kind of got to the point where I didn't want to take the -8 unless Marmoush got benched, because I didn't want to go into the final 3 weeks with no City attack. So then I was like, well, then I've got to find a way to buy De Bruyne, because I wasn't buying Haaland. Like, Haaland was never the plan. In theory, maybe I should have sold Isak to buy him, but I didn't. So I did Mateta out, Evan-Nilsson, which was fine. I'm still quite happy with that transfer. And then I did Rodgers to De Bruyne. Now, it didn't pay off for the hit, but it's not the end of the world. Could have been a lot worse. City created 2 XG. De Bruyne had over 1 XGI in that game. But my starting 11 did basically nothing. I had a Gvardiol clean sheet and a Marmoush assist. Those were the only returns in my starting 11. But I got 30 points on the bench boost with Areola, Sarr, Munoz, Conte. Now, I realise people will say, Harry, that's not your bench boost, but
I think that's fair. I think
it's reasonable.
I think Munoz over Milenkovic, you could have argued, with Forest's data being so poor.
I fully agree, but I don't think, like, if I'd have done it the other way around, people would have said,
yeah, you could argue it. It's not guaranteed, but yeah. Yeah, you're pretty lucky though. Like, not lucky, but everything's come in there. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, everything's come in on the bench. Everything in the starting 11 didn't.
Munoz though, can we just talk about Munoz for 10 seconds or so? Like, he's ridiculous as an FPL asset. I mean, next season, what he's going to be like 5.5, and you still probably put him in with good fixtures.
I know.
I was looking
this
back
week. Well, yeah, you just play him every week.
Yeah, he scored 8 goals at his old club in a season as well. Like,
what's he got now? 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 returns.
Yeah.
And
what's that? He's still got more actually, but
to go with the 11 clean sheets that they've also kept, 21 returns for him in 36 games.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
should probably be 6, but I doubt he would be.
Yeah, he'll definitely get a price hike. He'll probably be 5.5.
Yeah, and then people will say, can Mitchell cover Munoz when he's 4.5?
Yeah, Mitchell and Chilwell are 4.5 and Munoz is 5.5, and we'll try and cover him in game week 1 and it just won't work again. Right, yeah, so that was my team. It was a red arrow from just like 7k to 8k, basically. At one point, I was outside the top 10k before we got to Sunday, and things went a little bit better, particularly with the bench boost and Areola being an absolute hero. So, listen, it could have been much worse. It could have definitely been better. Let's have a look at yours.
Yeah, it was a -8. I wouldn't say a panicky -8, because I was mentally prepared to accept the risk, and I wanted to chase the top 50k. It was 28 points, and so I took out Salah, Isak, and Marmoush for Wissa, Palmer and Haaland, Captain Haaland, sorry. I wouldn't have changed it, to be fair. Like Haaland, it was 10% EO, Palmer was 3. I
Yeah.
mean, like if you're chasing, you can't really ask for much more than that.
No.
So, and obviously going into Sunday, Isak and Salah were 100% owned, and I didn't have either.
Yeah.
But they did both blanks, so that was good. And then yeah, there was good differential returns like Saar, Bowen, Areola. Munoz not differential, but still did well. And yeah, I swapped Wan-Bissaka out for Bradley just before the deadline, which was frustrating.
Yeah. Did you do it because you had Areola?
Yeah, sort of. And I also thought, I know, I just thought Bradley is quite attacking, and I thought Arsenal might be hungover from PSG, which it turns out they were. But then at halftime, they somehow recovered. Yeah. And I also was like, well, Bradley probably become an offer at 65 anyway, so there's like a good chance for clean sheet. But yeah, so I've got to make that decision again this week with Wan-Bissaka and Saliba and everything.
Yeah, your defense looks pretty stacked for the final 2 weeks. I definitely do not feel the same. But Conte
like,
just can continue to be a hero for me every week, just bailing me out.
But like, would you start Bradley in 38? I mean, like,
no.
Surely Trent will play in 38.
Not when you've got Saliba, Gvardiol, and probably Wan-Bissaka away at Ipswich. I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, that's true. And then this week, I've like Wan-Bissaka at home to Forest. I don't know. Over Saliba. I'd probably go one Arsenal and one West Ham.
Yeah.
I'd probably like hedge it either way, to be fair.
Yeah. Probably
not bad.
Probably Wan-Bissaka is probably the most attacking, so it's probably Raya Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, but then Areola is the one more likely to get a haul, isn't he?
Yeah, that is true. Raya
but
just does nothing.
We think Fabianski might play. So.
Yeah, this is my prediction, and I'm going to stand by it, that Fabianski is going to play a game between now and the end of the season. And that's why I bench boost this week.
And surely it would be.
You'd expect so. I bench boost purely for Areola, and he paid off the faith. So whatever he does between now and the end of the season is all good. He got me 8 points the 1 week that I needed him.
Yeah, it was good.
I suppose I could play. We'll talk about it later. I could play Areola over Raya this week, but I don't have any other Arsenal defenders.
No, I don't think. I mean, like, I don't think an Arsenal defender this week is that bad.
It might depend what I do if I keep Isak or not. Because if I keep Isak, then maybe I double down and bench Raya. But if I sell Isak, I feel like I've got to go and play Raya.
Yeah. Shout out for Bowen as well. He's been class the last few weeks.
Karim is saying in the chat that you're a bit quiet, so I can manually put you up. No, you don't need to. You don't do anything. Hopefully that's better.
Hello.
I think you're even too loud now, so maybe I've got to turn you down. But anyway, I'll do it. Right. So the first thing I actually want to talk about is a few bits of news that we've had over the past couple of days and today. Bit of injury stuff, a bit of Liverpool in Dubai stuff that I do think has a bit of an
Ibiza.
Well, so let's start with Liverpool. Apparently, Arne Slot is in Ibiza and the rest of the team is in Dubai, but some people are saying no, Arne Slot is also in Dubai. It's just some club in Dubai, but we don't know that, basically. Everyone seems to say it's Ibiza, but some people are reporting that
Klopp, is it Klopp? Slot has been in Ibiza. Klopp might be there as well, I don't know, but Slot has been in Ibiza because he was with Wayne Lineker. But yeah, and apparently they're not coming back till Friday.
Return on Friday, but it is a Monday game.
Yeah, but their heads are all over the shop. Like, maybe for attackers it's fine, but I think if you're hoping for clean sheets, it's like, I'm not. You saw against Arsenal, they weren't really that bothered. And
my captaincy armband is on Mo Salah at the moment, and it definitely doesn't fill me with confidence for that. Yeah,
but I mean, you're not going to lose out. I think they're probably going to score against Brighton, aren't they?
Yeah, he's also the one chasing like assist record, which is another bizarre thing, because if you watch the game, he doesn't want to score. He just keeps passing it.
Diaz,
yeah. And like he gets in the box and he's like just looking for someone to make a run. He's not looking to shoot.
Yeah, it's a bit odd, but he doesn't drink as well, which probably helps him.
Yeah, I did wonder. I did try and look when some of them are like drinking, like what is it and how much of a hangover are they going to have on Monday night? Because is it just they're going and having a nice time, or is there lots of alcohol involved? And I couldn't tell. Probably not loads, but
you'd think it's got to be a little bit professional.
Yeah, well, are they doing any training?
Well, I mean, not this week.
Like, are they completely just nothing, or are they doing some like gym work or something?
I'm guessing they'll be in on Saturday, Sunday to prepare, but
Mm.
it's a bit odd. You've never really seen this before.
No, like,
Like,
we've
you
never
can't
seen
imagine
any.
Pep switching off like this, can you?
No,
But yeah, um,
I think
do
it's
you
good for people with
sell
Brighton, and if
Salah?
you're looking at assistant manager and you want to play it on Hertzler, I don't mind it.
Yeah, you could see that being a draw. Are you
Yeah,
looking at selling Salah in any way?
no,
No.
I've got 2 transfers left, and one of them is not going to be used on selling Salah.
Yeah, I think if you're chasing, I don't mind Palmer this week, but I think Saka next week is probably the chase if you're chasing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind not captaining him. I was pretty set that I'd captain him both this week and next week. And now I'm not sure. I still think I'll probably captain him in 38. It depends how many, like, it depends what I need. If I'm chasing or
You're
not.
not going for 5k then.
No. I'm much more worried about. I'm like quite a long way off 5k now.
What if you're 6k next week?
Oh, if I get a green arrow this week, then I might, but
So you might captain Saka final day.
Saka away at Southampton, yeah, like I don't mind
Southampton
that.
are quite good now, actually.
Yeah, although
Data's good.
well, we do have some of the data. Let's have a look at that next. So we'll come to that in a moment. So the others we've got is apparently Isak is set to undergo an operation at the end of the season because he hasn't looked at it recently. I think it's fair to say he's not looked quite himself. Like even against us, I
Didn't
wasn't.
really do anything, to be
No,
honest.
I wasn't massively worried about him. So if you are looking to sell him to Watkins, I do think there's that added benefit. And to go on top of the Isak news is that Arsenal have got Havertz, Rice, Trossard, and Jorginho all back in training. Apparently, Martinelli did leave training early with a slight injury, though. So keep an eye because I know he was a potential. As yeah, people were looking at Martinelli as a bit of differential, but they've got a lot of players back, including Rice. They missed Rice against Liverpool, and Isak is set to undergo an operation. So there is a narrative which does lead you to sell Isak this week if you need Watkins.
Yeah. I just heard
My doorbell always goes. The thing in the chat that made me pause was Matthew in the chat said Wayne Lineker opened Ocean Beach Club in Dubai. So apparently there is an Ocean Beach Dubai now, and that's where he was. So maybe they're all in Dubai. It would make sense if they're all. It would make sense that they're all together and not like the squad had gone to Dubai and Arnie Slot's just in Ibiza. It would be so weird. Let me have a look. Ocean Beach Dubai. Oh yeah, there is.
The fact Salah's just in his beachwear, like it's a training week. I mean,
it's so bad. It's so funny. Just like looking calm. He's got his little things to go to the beach with. Yeah, it's interesting because in my position, for example, I've got Salah captain and Isak at the moment. But if I buy Watkins, it would move the armband as well, I think. So it has a whole knock-on impact, all of this sort of news that we're getting over this. So it'll be interesting to see if they're back in on Friday or if they're traveling home Friday, training Saturday. But it doesn't fill me with loads of confidence to captain Salah this week, I have to say.
Yeah, and I mean, you just have to look at the last two games. Like, it's quite clear they've dropped off.
Yeah.
Like, I suppose the first half against Arsenal was quite good, but then they just seemed to run out of steam at the end. So.
But Salah does still have motivation for it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to get a return or two, but it's like, are they going to go to Brighton and win 3-0? I don't think so.
No, but they could win 3-2.
Could do, I suppose.
I wouldn't want a defender. I would be benching Bradley if I was you.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair point.
Cool.
Quickly on that though, what do you think is happening with Trent for the last two games?
I think he starts Palace.
Yeah, the only thing that makes me question that is that Slot has been he hasn't exactly been like glowing in his praise of Trent. He was like,
no, but I think it's a less big deal if he starts the game. I think subbing him on makes him a bigger deal. Like just gets booed.
Yeah. I don't know if he's just given Bradley the games because if you're completely speaking in Liverpool's interest, you start Bradley.
Yeah, but I just think Trent gets that last game to win the title. And then that's it. I mean, Liverpool, we sometimes get news before the deadline. You might get it, but I'm not sure I'd massively want Liverpool defenders either way. Like Palace on the final day is not that easy. Like it depends if Palace rotate or not.
Yeah, I mean, and I've got better defenders anyway, probably Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah. Cool. So the first thing we're going to have a look at is the underlying data table that we've got. I've decided to order it now by data off the last 6, and it does nothing but tell me that I need to have as many Aston Villa players in my team as possible. So they are top for XG per 90 over the last 6, and they are second for XG conceded per 90 over the last 6. So it feels like, and I think it was the guys, I think it was Adam and Baker on Above Average, were basically saying, yeah, Unai Emery is just a cup final specialist, like he's a knockout tournament specialist, and he's playing the end of this Premier League season as if it's like the Europa League that he's won so many times, that he's just like, this is a cup final, we'll win it, we'll take a 1-0, like we'll win the game, we'll, close it out the season the way that we need to, and hopefully that puts them in a Champions League spot. And it does feel like that a little bit, right? Villa top for XG and second for XGC. So even someone like an Ezri Konsa, I'm pretty happy just to start for the last couple of games. Like defensively, they look like they're definitely improving, but going forward, they're right at the top, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You do with Rodgers as well, probably.
Yeah, I mean, selling Rodgers was not my finest move, but I sold him to keep Sarr, and Sarr could have had a 15-pointer in that game. But I feel like I've said Sarr could have had a 15-pointer in about half the games so far this season, and I'm not sure he's had a single one in my team.
He's going to score in the cup final, isn't he?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
Mateta.
I think Villa are definite buys as well, with Spurs and United coming up. Watkins is probably, I don't know, where do you have him in captaincy? Like the best? Maybe is Mbumo maybe. I don't know. I feel like Mbumo is a bit overlooked this week.
I think Watkins is probably top, but I don't mind Mbumo.
Is he on penalties?
Probably not. Probably Asensio.
Yeah, so that's quite tricky. But Isak to Watkins, I think, is a bit of a no-brainer transfer, to be fair. And then the only thing is, though, I think Spurs will maybe be a bit better this week. I mean, not that says much, but you'd think it's going to be strong teams.
I would agree. But then there was a comment after the Reguilon tackle on Brennan Johnson. Ange said that, he's going to wrap them in cotton wool if he can. So I wonder, is he now a little bit worried about injury or something like that? So I do expect Spurs and Man United to be pretty full strength for their lineups on Friday, which does concern me a little bit with Villa.
If anything, it would be the centre backs, wouldn't it, that he would protect?
Yeah, like Van der Ven wouldn't play. Romero will probably play, but Van der Ven might not.
Yeah, so that's good for Watkins, obviously.
Yeah. I think it's just a great matchup. Like, even if their team is full strength, they'll get subbed off early, and Villa know what they have to do. They have to win this game. So, yeah.
Definitely a team to target.
Yeah, and even if Spurs play it, they're not going to be as switched on as maybe they would be if they really needed something for the Premier League.
Although we could do with them nicking a point.
Oh, big time. Big time. I mean, Chelsea are top for XGC, best defence over the last 6, 9th in terms of attack, and the attack is dropping off. People are looking at Palmer this week. Without Jackson, what do you think?
I don't necessarily mind that. I was looking at his games without Jackson previously, and he actually did quite well with Neto up front. His underlying data, they were in easier games. To be fair, I think it was Villa, Leicester, Southampton. But
I'm fully expecting a horrible game of football.
I don't know. I think it could be quite free scoring because United are not that bothered.
But United have not. When was the last time United have been free scoring?
Yeah, but I think in terms of I think we might score multiple goals.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 1-0, 2-1.
Yeah, but United have shipped like 4 to Brentford. Is it 4 to Newcastle?
Yeah. True.
I mean, I'm currently captaining Palmer, so
I don't mind the Palmer captaincy, but that's because I don't love captaincy this week.
Yeah.
Palace. Let's talk Palace, right? They're second for XG per 90 over the last 6, just behind Villa. It
Yeah.
just feels an absolute nightmare to try and predict who's going to start that game.
Yeah, I mean, as it stands, I'm not. I'm probably going to sell Mateta and bench Sar. To be honest, I'm not. I don't think I'm going to take the chance. I just think like, what's the point? I can't really, especially if they win the cup. I mean, like, there's going to be crazy celebrations. This is what their first trophy, and like, is it? Have
I
they
mean,
never won a
they've
trophy
never won it.
before? Yeah, and Mateta to Nketiah seems the most obvious swap. And like last time it happened against Arsenal, if you remember,
Mm.
they benched Sar and Mateta. I think Munoz is fine. I'm going to play Munoz because he's Munoz and
Yeah, he doesn't
he
seem to
starts
miss a
every
game.
game.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that Mateta would be benched quite obviously. I think,
Mateta, I think, is easy because he's a minute's risk whether he starts or not. All right.
and he's not even in that good form. And
Yeah. I think Sarr and Eze are more difficult.
yeah, you'd say one of them would start. Do they have the players to bench both of them?
No,
But he
like
also
I
could just,
expect at least one of them to start.
but he could just write it off completely. I suppose.
I mean, he could. If it goes to extra time and they're both still on the pitch, then maybe he does write it off completely, right? But it's because it's so difficult to say without knowing how that cup final goes. Because I've got a choice of Sarr at home to Wolves or Evan Nilsson away at City, and I've got to play one of the two of them this week. And I'm like, do I just take the minutes from Evan Nilsson, or do I play the fixture with Sarr?
Do you still have Mateta?
No.
Yeah, but it's also like so they're playing Saturday, Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Like if they win the cup, they'll be absolutely hammered on Saturday night.
Yeah, but what happens if they don't win the cup? Which is the most likely scenario.
Then they might emotionally be drained. I suppose. I don't. You could spin it either way, I suppose. But
Yeah. I think the general consensus is if you don't have to start them, don't.
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I'm not going to. I think I'm going to sell Mateta and bench Sar. So
Yeah, Mateta went for me last week. I've just got Sarr versus Evan Nilsson. I've got Evan Nilsson in. He was scored in the return fixture, so I've got that
yeah, I don't think
benefit.
there's anything wrong with that. I don't.
No, it's close though, isn't it?
It is close because obviously extra point for a goal and
Yeah,
City
clean sheet.
defense is actually in really really good touch.
Yeah, they're third on this table, conceded less than 1 XG per 90 average over the past 6. But
Don't
I
mind.
think Eze and Sarr start, but I don't know if I'm confident enough on it to do it. And like it
Yeah,
might only be 60, 70, right? Sarr played
and they
75
might
this week.
also just not turn up at all.
Yeah, but then if they win and they do start, there's going to be a party, isn't it? You
Yeah,
can write your narrative how you want.
yeah, you can. I think if they win the cup, I think it's unlikely they would start again.
Yeah.
I just think they'll be going mental on Saturday night.
Two teams in 4th and 5th on the attack are Newcastle and Arsenal. Newcastle, the 4th best attack, but it just doesn't feel like Isak is that involved in it.
Oh no, yeah, I mean against Chelsea, he's like snatched at a few chances, didn't he? I
I
think
mean, he does have 3 goals in his last 5.
no hauls though. He seems to have like his like electrifying best seems to have dropped off. Like and he's like
Yeah, the
I
last
don't
time he hauled was gameweek 26. He scored twice against Forest.
yeah. I think Isak to Watkins is perfectly fine this week. I think I would probably go as far as advising the move if it's for free.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most spoken about move this week. Mateta to Watkins isn't spoken about because it just feels so obvious that if you can do it, you do it. Isak to Watkins feels more spoken about because, yeah, it's
You can definitely do it. Like I couldn't afford Mateta to Watkins.
yeah. I've got Isak's more expensive, so basically everyone can do it, which is why that's where they're looking. It's just whether you move the captaincy to go with it.
What about Vissa? Would you still like? Why is Vissa suddenly dropped away? Because like, would you buy Watkins over Vissa?
If you plan on captaining Watkins, yeah,
Yeah,
because I think he's a better captaincy shout this week, and I
And
do
what about
think
Cunha as well?
I do think that captaincy will play a big part in our transfers for the final 2 weeks because it has a really big, of course, impact in our overall score. That generally, if you're buying a player, for them to make a big difference, if you're not captaining them over the past final 2 weeks, they've probably got to score at least twice. They've got to score in both games, if not more. Is if you bring them in to captain them, as long as they score the week you captain them, then it does all of that. So like this week, Watkins is popular, but if like City had Southampton this week, Watkins wouldn't be as popular because people would have a captain. If Salah had a better fixture or they weren't on the beach, then people wouldn't be buying Watkins because of captaincy. Whereas it does feel like this week that people are looking for a captain, which is why Watkins is very popular.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is fair. I think there's a few good, like, I don't know, like Bowen, Cunha. I think these players are still decent buys if you've got transfers.
I wouldn't buy Cunha now.
Would you not?
No.
No, fair enough.
They feel firmly on the beach.
Yeah. And what about Mr. Vardy?
Mr. Vardy, I'm all over it.
I think I'm going to buy him this week.
If I could pick one narrative to believe between now and the end of the season, it's that Jamie Vardy is going to score against Ipswich.
I think I'm going to buy him. I think I'm going to do Mateta to Vardy to bench Saul.
Yeah. Just that last home game for Leicester, 1 goal away from 200 for Leicester, 1 goal away from 150 Premier League goals. I've never seen something more written in the stars.
Yeah. I mean, even on the final day as well, I don't think it's that bad. Who's he playing on the final day?
Bournemouth away.
Yeah, it's not.
And it might be that Bournemouth don't have anything to play for themselves on the final day as well.
Yeah.
I'd go as far to say I actually think Jamie Vardy's a better captaincy this week than Ollie Watkins.
Should get him in then.
Yeah, but I also want a player for 38. And I'm not chasing.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah, in your case, you've already got Evan Nielsen as well. If you had transfers, you could do Vardy this week, then Evan Nielsen next week.
Yeah. I really like the Vardy one. I suppose to go along the same lines as you've got Beto. Home Southampton, final game at Goodison Park.
Riskier, though. Like, it would not shock me if Brozier just started for some reason.
And you've got the game week 38 fixture being pretty poor for Everton. I don't see a world where you'd buy Beto over Vardy.
No. I mean, they've got Calvert-Lewin and Brozier could come in.
Yeah.
And you could say that Calvert-Lewin deserves to start the final home game more, like, you know, because he's more of a...
Is he out of contract?
Don't think so.
No. I
saw him saying stuff like, who wouldn't want to be a part of the new stadium?
Oh.
So, or maybe he just wants a new one.
That seems to be most of the teams around the top. I do think generally defensive transfers are not massively worth it. Like the upside of a defensive transfer is not great. Like you should be best off prioritizing an attacking transfer if you can. So there's not too much to talk about from defensive point of view. If you need a defender, I like Collins. I like Wan-Bissaka. They're probably
like Cucurella.
Yeah.
I do like Cucurella.
Yeah, so do I.
Wan-Bissaka as well seems to be getting forward a lot.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
City.
Brentford. His defense has tightened up a little bit.
Yeah, I like Collins.
Yeah, Coyote is quite a little bit attacking.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was just for this week, you'd probably go Everton, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, it feels a little bit like that your defensive transfer has to be dependent on what your team needs. Because if you need a defender just this week, then Everton are great. If you need them for just next week, then you buy like Bournemouth or you buy Newcastle or you buy Arsenal. But if you need them for 2 weeks, then Arsenal are good. Yeah.
Collins, Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka would be the best with Forest and
Ipswich over the final two. Yeah. I agree. Game week 38, I might have to make a defensive transfer. I'll just play Konza because he's been good recently.
What are you on? You're on Konza.
I've got double Forest and Munoz.
I can see them beating us 1-0.
Yeah, so it depends. If I get something in my attack that I need to deal with on the final day, then I'll just play one of the Forest defenders, Konza, Gvardiol. But if I don't, then I'll probably make a defensive transfer.
Munoz is never a bad pick. I know it's Liverpool away, but he's never a bad shout.
Yeah, I've got that decision once we get there. But yeah, if you've got Munoz this week, I think you definitely play him.
Yeah. Never been benched in any competition under Glasner.
It's wild.
Even League Cup, he started every single one.
The only one he didn't play was game week 17 when he was suspended. He didn't play game week 7 at home to Liverpool.
I think he was injured.
Yeah, he played 16. Did he go off injured or did he? I don't know. But anyway. Let's talk a few differentials then. Particularly focusing on the attack. So Rodgers and Watkins don't feel like differentials now, unless you put the captaincy armband on him. I think Watkins captain still counts as a differential. I don't think that many people, I think his ownership will be 70-80% this week. I don't think it'll be higher. So Rodgers is not a differential. Watkins will be if you captain him. Other fixtures to you look to target this week? I just think this week's a really bad week for fixtures generally.
I think any, and this is not biased. I do. If you were targeting, I think any Chelsea attacker this week is quite good differential.
Neto,
Like
someone has asked
Neto
in
or
the chat.
Madueke. Yeah, I don't think Neto or Madueke are both fine this week. Like they could easily go off. It's probably unlikely, but they could always go off. I think Sharda is still really good.
I said this in one of my videos this week that I think if you're making a transfer this week, it has to fall into one of three categories. Either you have a player in your starting 11 that you don't think is going to start. B, you're chasing rank, because if you're chasing rank, you don't want to roll transfers. Or C, it moves the captaincy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see many players that I really want this week that I feel like I need to buy unless I've got a player that falls into one of those three categories. Like, the fixtures next week feel much better for transfers than they do this week. Like, you've got Arsenal against Southampton, you've got Bournemouth against Leicester, West Ham away at Ipswich, you've got Newcastle at home to Everton. Like, there's a lot of good fixtures that you could buy this next week, but because Leicester play Ipswich and Southampton play Everton, there's not loads of good transfers that you can look to target this week because all the relegation teams are tied up with each other or against Everton.
I think Vardy is probably the best because you wouldn't be mad about playing Vardy in game week 38 against Bournemouth.
Yeah, I like Vardy.
He's returned pretty regularly this year. So it's probably Vardy, or I think a Chelsea attacker could be good. Gibbs White could be good as well.
He had a really good game, I thought, against Leicester. Finally, he's not had the best season, but I was very impressed with him. But again, like, Vardy fills into the category that you're probably only going to buy him if you're chasing, right? If you're not chasing, you're not buying Jamie Vardy, I don't think.
True, but if you have Mateta and then a crap eighth player, like
Yeah,
probably the best forward to buy, isn't he?
I would say so.
Or Visser.
And again, it depends. If you can get to Watkins and captain him, then it's probably Watkins, right?
Yeah. I mean, Sharda is good as well.
Yeah, 5-1. Or 5-2
Still think
now.
it's all right.
I'm really worried about Wolves. That performance against Brighton was just not what I expected. But then, Brentford at home in game week 38 could be Cunha's final Wolves game.
And you could be playing a hungover Palace team.
Yeah. So the fixtures are good, I would say. Yeah, Vardy is the romantic
pick. Bowen's still a decent pick.
Yeah, Bowen's the one I wish I had.
And then Sharda, I think, is pretty decent. Like after Sharda, if you've got some money to then do Mateta to Watkins, for example, it could be good.
Yeah. Yeah. As an enabler, I don't mind it. I don't mind Rodgers.
What about other Villa?
Asensio.
Yeah.
With no Ramsey this week. His minutes should be pretty good. Should be on pens as well.
Yeah, you could go all in on that. You could go like Sar Mateta to Watkins, Asensio if you could afford it.
If you need a differential, I love the Asensio pick over Rodgers this week. It would just worry me a little bit in 38.
Yeah, it's a shame Ipswich are so bad because Leicester and West Ham is quite good.
So I've done a little bit this week and I basically said I'm not buying Ipswich. I'm not buying anyone from Ipswich. But people are like, well, what about someone like an Enciso or a Delap if you do need a differential?
I don't like Delap. His minutes are being...
Yeah.
Didn't he come off on sick? Like, it seems like they're making plans for life without him, I think. Yeah. Like, it wouldn't even shock you if he didn't play the last game or maybe this game, but...
No, Enciso 5.4 has been playing 90 in the past two, scored against Everton. Like, I don't hate it. I remember from when he was at Brighton, he's got goals in him. But, like, would you buy Enciso or would you buy Sharda?
By Sharda, yeah, definitely Sharda.
Would you buy him or would you buy Asensio? You'd buy Asensio, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I think. So, I don't hate the Asensio pick if someone said they've gone rogue and bought him with 2 weeks towards the end of the season, right? But, yeah.
I think Neto is quite good, actually, for 2 games up front.
Yeah, I just worry a little bit about the amount of goals we're going to score over these 2 games.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough.
Like, if you've got Palmer, great, but I'd not try to be chasing it now.
Like, if Villa were to draw, if by some miracle Villa drew to Spurs, And we knew that a draw would suit us at Forest. It might be very, very cagey.
Yeah.
But you could say Forest are going to have to win, so they may come out of it.
But I
Like
don't
if it
think
gets to half time,
Forest game is not coming and trying to beat a team 4-3. Like
true,
Forest game is trying to win at 1-0.
yeah, but if it's 0-0 with half an hour to go and they need to win, like we could get some joy. You can imagine Neto getting a bit of joy.
I mean, I don't want to be damning on Forest, but I wouldn't actually be surprised if it's done for them.
What if they don't beat? I mean, yeah. To be fair, you can see West Ham getting at least a point, I suppose. Can't you?
Yeah. And as in theory, they could. Yeah, no. Even if they have to beat, they have to win. If they draw with West Ham, they're basically done for the final day.
As long as we beat United, it's us and Villa, really.
If
Isn't it?
Chelsea and Villa win,
We
and
get it with 2 wins because our goal difference is better.
yeah, but if Chelsea and Villa win this week on Friday and Forest don't beat West Ham, Forest that final game is actually much less important for them than they've got nothing to play for.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they would be if they'd be gutted or more.
So yeah, I know you've got Parma and I think that's fine, but I'm not sure I'd be buying Chelsea now.
No, probably not. Nikolai in the chat saying, could George start? I think it's very unlikely. I think as fans, we wouldn't be against it, but you just have to look at the evidence that he's played 1 minute in 3 weeks, after which he scored. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't.
It's just what he does. Like, what is that front three going to look like?
I just think James will come in, be in the back three. Cucurella will go up the left, and
Yeah.
Palmer will shuffle over slightly.
It just doesn't fill with any confidence that basically our three goal scorers on the pitch are Palmer, Neto, Madueke. Like, and that's the only attacking threat that we've got.
Well, I think Enzo is. I mean, Cucurella, isn't he our top scorer in 2025?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but I don't mind the Cucurella punt. I'm not sure Palmer's worth the money. For example, if you're not going to captain him this week, let's say he's not going to be your captain. If you want to buy Palmer to captain, that's something else. But would you buy Saka or Palmer this week if you weren't captaining them?
Probably Saka because it saves you. Like if you own Salah and you're chasing and you're happy to go, I'd probably go Saka now. Because you could, as long as you've got Captain Boomer or Captain Watkins, and then you Captain Saka next week, that seems a logical play. Yeah. But if you want to Captain Palmer, you could just chain it Palmer to Saka. That's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to get Saka next week for Palmer.
Unless De Bruyne doesn't start, and then everyone will be buying Saka for De Bruyne. If you've got players in the chat that you'd like us to discuss, please let us know now. We're going to wrap up by having a look at our teams. Please drop a like on the stream if you haven't already, and subscribe if you are new around here as well. Enzo, I mean, again, like I'm not sure one of your last two transfers will be used there. I don't know if that was just he can score goals. He can, but I'm not sure I'd be going there.
Worst pick, but you're probably picking Sharda, aren't you?
Yeah. Isak to Vardy or Sarr to Bowen. Which would you prefer? It depends a little bit. If you're chasing, Isak to Vardy is a much better.
Is it though? Because next week, I think in ideal world we'd all have Isak.
Yeah, whereas I'd probably do Sarr to Bowen.
I'd go Bowen because he's got 2 good weeks.
Is Vardy a nostalgic or logical given motivation fixture? You can get Saka 38 if I choose Vardy over Watkins.
I think Vardy's a good pick. Like he gets points pretty regularly, and
as long as you're happy to captain someone else.
Yeah, I think Mbumo is a perfectly good captain this week. There was a super chat right at the start, by the way. I don't know if you
Yes, if you wanted to captain Watkins in 37, would I do Isak to Watkins for free or Marmoush to Watkins for a hit? I'd do Marmoush, I think, because I think I'd want Isak. I'd rather Isak 38.
Yeah, I think, and then I guess, like, what would the hit be? I mean, maybe it's like Mateta to Vissa or Sarr to, especially if you're getting rid of Palace as part of that hit, would be quite good, I think.
Haaland, if you brought him in, you just have to keep him now, don't you?
Yeah, probably. I mean, there is a school of thought where I could go Haaland to Vardy and then Sarr to Salah to protect myself.
Would you do Haaland to Watkins?
No, not in itself. I would only do it to probably get Saka or Salah in.
Yeah.
Do you think Haaland will start against Bournemouth?
So I'm in the train of thought that City care more about the Premier League than the FA Cup.
Yeah, I mean,
Finishing in the top 5 is more important to Manchester City as a football club than winning the FA Cup. And I feel pretty confident on that. And I feel pretty confident that they will agree with me. The City hierarchy and Pep will agree. So
I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think that's arguable at all.
So I think that we'll see a full strength City lineup on Tuesday. And I think he'll more think about the FA Cup lineup of who can play twice in those days and play them. And if they can't, they'll play on Tuesday. So I think Haaland starts.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know about you, but I think this final is a really good chance it goes to extra time.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then Haaland would obviously come off or Marmoush. So.
I wouldn't be massively surprised if Palace win it. Just because I think their motivation for it is so much higher.
Yeah, but you've seen teams like they get so up for it and then they just kind of deflate. But yeah, so you say, but would you go for as Captain Haaland, like 10% EO?
Probably not, given you can't be certain he starts.
Yeah, that's probably a bit far. What about De Bruyne? I guess that's the same thing then. You think he's in City's best team, so he's going to play on Tuesday?
Yeah, it's my opinion. I've got him. Maybe I'm trying to convince myself that it'll be fine, but I think he plays.
I mean, yeah, following your logic, he didn't start the FA Cup semi-final.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like Grealish plays that role in the final.
Yeah. People saying Barnes and Gordon in the chat.
Yeah, game week 38 punts will be interesting. I don't know we'll be fully certain who's going to start on the wings for Newcastle if that's what they're looking at.
I mean, they all started against Chelsea.
But I don't think they'll do that again.
No. What, even if Trippier's still out?
Maybe. At home to Everton on the final day playing a back 5. Surely not.
Yeah, true. Who was playing the wing? I wasn't really watching Newcastle.
It was Murphy and Livramento.
Yeah.
And then but are you really going to use your final transfer of the season on Jacob Murphy? No disrespect to him, but...
No, I'd probably... And then who played on the right wing then? Was it Barnes?
Yes.
So Gordon had preference on that.
Yeah. But they changed it several times throughout the game. So I'm just going to get it up.
In the meantime, there's a question about the assistant manager chip. I will quickly look at the fixtures.
Yeah. So...
Don't mind that.
Yeah, Brighton or West Ham. Well, Brighton or West Ham if you want table bonus.
Or Big Ange.
Yeah. Brighton or West Ham if you want table bonus. Or you go...
I think West Ham, yeah. I think West Ham are a really good shout, actually.
But it might be that you want to just go for a manager you keep for 2 weeks. Which West Ham actually does work.
I think Potter's really good, to be fair.
As does Brighton, yeah. Or you go like Brentford, Fulham at home, Wolves away, no bonus. I would look at West Ham.
Yeah, Potter seems really good, actually. Winnable table bonus, and then Ipswich seems pretty perfect.
Yeah. What else have we got? Any idea if Maatsen starts? I feel like it's complete lottery.
Yeah, I don't really see why you'd do that. But you'd still say Spurs have a fair chance of scoring.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Default captain Salah, 37, being overlooked. Brighton leaves space. He trains in Dubai. What's this record? Is he neck and neck with like Gyökeres for goals in Europe?
I don't know about that one. I know he needs one more goal involvement to do the Premier League record. So he needs a goal. He needs 2 assists.
He needs 2 assists to get 20 goals, 20 assists, which has only been done once before.
So that's not a proper record. I think the record he was talking about was the outright goal involvements.
Well, it can't be because he wants an assist. He doesn't care about scoring. He's chasing some assist record.
Okay, fair enough. I heard him say he knows about the goal involvement one.
He's definitely trying to get an assist because he hasn't shot in about 3 weeks. He's just passing it sideways. As soon as they won the title, that was it. He just passed it sideways.
People saying he's 1 point behind Gokares, but you get 2 points for a goal.
Oh.
But from a personal point of view, I have heard him talk about the goal involvement.
Yeah, he has. But he's definitely chasing an assist
what?
record, not a goal record.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he'll score and get an assist.
Yeah. So I don't mind it's the Henry record, which is 20 and 20. Default captain Salah. I don't mind the Salah captain. If I don't buy Watkins, I'll captain Salah, I think.
Yeah, I can't really argue about that.
Yeah. Cool. Let's have a look at our teams. I'll put yours up on screen first, Tom. Do you want to read it out? And then, any potential transfers you're considering. You've got everyone playing at home this week. Look at that.
Hey, it looks all right on paper. Raya, Munoz, Wan-Bissaka, Gvardiol, and Bumo, Bowen, Captain Palmer, Rogers, Visser, Haaland, Mateta, with Areola, Sarr, Bradley, and Saliba on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
So no free transfer. Sorry, one free transfer. I've got two options really. I suppose I've got three options. I could do Haaland to Watkins.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't actually tested that. I wonder what Haaland to Watkins, and then what can I get from Sarr? Could I get like Sarr to Saka or something?
Mm.
But yeah, regardless of that, my initial instinct was Mateta to Vardy.
I'm not sure I'd do Haaland to Watkins now.
And then not even Sarr to Saka to bench Mateta. And then I'd have my transfer in 38 to do on something else.
Yeah, I do quite like that.
Could be interesting. But I don't know if I can afford that, to be honest. I'll have to check now. But my instinct was just Mateta to Vardy. And then next week I can do...
Sorry, do you mind not tapping?
Sorry. And then next week I could do Palmer to Saka, would be my instinct. Sorry, I dropped my phone. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out how much I can afford. What about my defense? Do you think Wan-Bissaka over Bradley Saliba is
Yeah, I'd probably leave it as it is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be playing Bradley.
No.
If there's anything, it would be Saliba in.
Yeah, so I can do Haaland to Watkins and Sarr to Saka for a hit. And then bench Mateta. And then game week 38, I can just do
Mateta to Evan
Nilsson. And I'm sorted with Captain Saka if I'm chasing. That's
I don't love selling Haaland generally. I think it's my opinion, but I do like the Saka route. But I'm not sure you need it this week.
Oh yeah, and the alternative would be Mateta to Vardy this week. Then 38 would be Palmer to Saka. So I'd be going into 38 with Haaland and Saka.
I'm going to offer a really, really boring solution here.
It's rolling it.
Yeah, what about rolling? Just bench Mateta and hope Sarr starts. And then you have two transfers for the final day.
In which case I could then, if I somehow get into the top 100k, I could get Salah in.
Yeah.
For the final day if I wanted to.
I do think there is a benefit to having two transfers in 38 if you can do it. Like, I'd rather two transfers in 38 than taking a -4 this week, I think.
But what about just doing Mateta to Vardy for free?
Yeah, I don't... If it leaves enough money for, like, Sarr to Saka, then I would. But if it doesn't, then I think I'd roll.
I don't think it would do that.
Yeah, then I'm not sure I would. Yeah. Janko in the chat is saying I'd roll and get Saka and Evan Nilsson in 38. Two transfers is so much better, says Frost Butler.
Yeah, it's just that Vardy. Like, if Vardy gets a brace, it's those 13 points.
Yeah, but if he gets a brace, one of them's what? Oh no, I suppose the Vardy transfers it doesn't. But
then next week I would have Vardy, Haaland, and Visser. So I'm probably not going to get Evan Nilsson.
I mean, if you didn't have anything else to do, you'd do Vardy to Evan Nilsson, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but I want to do Palmer to Saka.
See, like, I just think the 38 transfers are better.
Yeah, okay. So it's I'm not going to take the hit for Haaland, but yeah. So it's Mateta to Vardy or roll, with the aim of getting Saka next week. Captaincy is currently Palmer. Could move to Mbumo. I think those are my only two options.
Yeah.
It's head over heart, and it's also Friday night versus Sunday.
I would be on Burmo if I owned both.
Another thing. Palmer is actually a massive differential as well.
Yes.
He was 3% owned at my rank,
Yeah. And
which
he
is
won't be that
ridiculous.
high. Like, I'm not even sure. He'll get like 10 maybe. I don't think I see many people bringing him in.
So it could actually be fun either way, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah.
Having a look at my team. Raya in goal, Gvardiol, Konza, Munoz, and Burmo, Saka, De Bruyne, Salah, Wissa, Isak, Evan-Nilsson. The only small positive for me about my -8 is I have a midfielder from Burmo, Saka, De Bruyne, Salah, which I do quite like if it can start scoring some points.
That's top. Maybe Bowen, but yeah, that's pretty good.
I've got Evan-Nilsson in play. So my two decisions this week are, do I play Evan-Nilsson on Sar? At the moment, I've got Evan-Nilsson in. But if I think City go full strength in that game, I'm not sure I want Evan-Nilsson in it. But if I'm not certain Sar starts, yeah, I've got to decide on that one. And it's if I do Isak to Watkins or not.
And you've got one transfer.
I got one transfer.
Where's your head at for 38? I mean, in an ideal world, you're not gonna like who because you've got a Bournemouth attacker, you've got Saka.
So my front seven in game week 38 looks fine. Like Mbermo, Saka, De Bruyne, Salah, Wissa, Isak/Watkins, Evan-Nilsson. It looks fine.
And then I'm guessing Bowen would be your backup if De Bruyne was
If
benched.
Bruyne was out, or Saka didn't play, I'd do one of them to Bowen.
Yeah.
But my defence is Gvardiol, Konza away at United, and then Munoz against Liverpool or a Forest defender at home to Chelsea. So if all of my front seven started, I'd probably make a defensive transfer. It's really boring, but I probably would.
You'd
So
get an Arsenal defender, wouldn't you?
I'd probably buy Ben White
Yeah.
because it doesn't look like Timber's in training today.
Would you play Munoz or Konza?
In 38,
Yeah.
I'd probably play both of them at the moment. I'd play Konza over Munoz.
Yeah. So in theory, with one transfer, your team would look perfect.
It would
Basically.
look good, but it doesn't leave me much if something was to go wrong. Like, if we get to 38 and let's say De Bruyne doesn't start, right, and I've only got one transfer, I suddenly am like, okay, I've got to do De Bruyne to Bowen. And then do I just stick with the defence I've got? Maybe.
Yeah. I'd probably play Sarr over Evan-Nilsson, by the way. I just think like there's a good chance Sarr starts, and also I think his upside is just bigger. Like, can you see Evan-Nilsson scoring more than one return against City?
No.
Yeah, I'd probably start Sarr, I think.
So yeah, it's just that it's Evan-Nilsson versus Sarr and it's Isak versus Watkins. And I suppose I have a goalkeeper decision to make, but I'm pretty certain I'm going to go with Raya.
I think that's fair. I think I'm gonna go Ray and then start Wan-Bissaka.
I still think Forest, despite how bad they've been, are fighting for something.
And West Ham also are not good suddenly. Like
Yeah.
they still conceded over 2 XG to Man.
If Højlund could finish, it would have been 2-2 that game. So,
Captaincy for you.
captaincy's on Salah at the moment. I don't mind Mbermo. If I buy Watkins, it could end up on him as well. Like, I think if I buy Watkins, I'll feel that I need to captain him.
Yeah, I was about to say, would you buy Watkins and not captain him?
Probably isn't a very sensible thing to do, but
I mean,
like,
how much better is Watkins than Isak? Like for 2 weeks?
not unless you're going to captain him.
Yeah, and then Watkins versus Mbermo. I think it's pretty close, with penalties.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's that much in it.
If it was mid-season, I think you'd roll 100%.
I would definitely roll. But the issue is it's not mid-season. Issue is we're 2 weeks left and I'm scraping onto my rank.
Like, just a final question, like on Salah captain, like, what is your gut saying no? I'm guessing.
My gut is
Just
saying
'cause
it's not a good idea.
Yeah. But rank wise, I mean, it probably is a good idea.
yeah, he's probably going to be over 100%, and Watkins probably isn't. And that's why I'm thinking in my mind, if I buy Watkins, will I definitely captain him?
He's definitely better than Isak this week. It's just next week. Like, are you going to be bothered about? Because Isak will probably be like maybe 70% owned. He was 90 this week, but he's being sold quite a lot. So
Yeah, but I mean, what happens if Man United win the Europa League? I'm going to want Watkins.
yeah, true. Even if they lose, I mean, like it's still,
Yeah.
extra time, travel.
So yeah, it's more.
I suspect you'll bring in Watkins. I would predict.
Manchester City's have just announced the cover image for Kevin De Bruyne's last home game, and it does have Kevin De Bruyne with a crown on it.
Well, in the program.
If anyone needs a boost to Kevin De Bruyne's minutes for game week 37, there you go.
I agree with you. I think there's no way De Bruyne doesn't start A, the final home game, and B, I just think he'd bench him in the FA Cup final and prioritise the
And
league.
then like game week 38, if they still have to win, like that game is now, unless Chelsea, Villa and Forest, if two of the three of them lost this weekend or didn't win, then yeah, that last City game doesn't mean anything. But he's in their best team, and then it's his final City game. I just don't see him not playing that game.
If no, if two of the teams lost, they would be fine.
Yeah.
So,
But even then, like if they then had nothing to play for, surely he still plays because it's his final game. Like
yeah,
he's out of contract, so City are not going to worry about any selling on fee or anything like that. Like, surely he plays Fulham.
I think he plays 37. I think 38 is slightly more up in the air.
Out of interest, why?
Just because like there is maybe a chance he's played the cup final and Bournemouth, and then if top five is sewn up, I think there's a risk.
But then it's a Tuesday, Sunday turnaround. Like he's not going to be tired.
Yeah, but he's got decent players on the bench. Like he could play Marmoush or Grealish or
Yeah, but it's definitely not Foden. What has happened to Foden?
so another young footballer who's played too many football matches.
Mac Don is asking if you've got Williams, Milenkovic, Areola, Mateta, is it a good bench boost?
Williams, Milenkovic, Areola, Mateta. I don't like that at all.
I don't like that.
Like you're praying for a 0-0, aren't you? But it's going to be 1-1.
It's going to be 1-0 West Ham, and it's going to be Fabianski in goal. But then, is it any better next week?
Chelsea, Ipswich, and then Evan Nilsson. Probably better next week if you've got Evan Nilsson.
Yeah, it probably is. I probably would save it for next week. Those people asking about the Conference League and places in Europe, we're guaranteed to have 7. 7th place will get European football. 8th will get European football if City win the FA Cup. 8th will not get European football if Palace win the FA Cup, because Palace will take that spot.
Which competition is that?
If Palace win the FA Cup, they get Europa
League, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Nice. And then League Cup is Conference League, I assume.
Yeah, but that's Newcastle, so that drops down. So 7th would then be Europa League. 7th would be Conference League. 6th would be Europa League, and top 5 Champions League.
Yeah, because how it works, because we have England has 2 Europa League spots.
Yeah.
The 5th or 6th spot in the league, and then the FA Cup.
Yeah.
And if we win the Conference League and come top 5, we get the choice.
But if Palace win the FA Cup, it means Brentford will suddenly have nothing to play for. Same with,
I just think that means goals for them, to be quite honest.
Yeah. But it does suddenly mean that Chelsea, Villa, Forest have even more to play for.
Yeah. Where can we come? Like, are we locked in at 6th, or could we still come 7th?
We could come 7th if we lose to Forest, yeah.
But if we beat United and Forest don't beat West Ham, then we're locked in the top 6, more or less.
No, not if they beat us. If we lose one game, they can just go above us.
Not if they draw.
Not if they draw, yeah.
I don't think they'll beat West Ham this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Any more? Any final questions? If not, we will wrap up the stream there. We're going to be back next week.
How worth it is Watkins for a hit? Or not?
I don't like it.
No.
If
you were selling Sarah Mateta for a -4? Or would you not? You would just play Sarah, wouldn't you?
If it's Mateta, then I probably would.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. I think that's about it then.
Yeah, I think Watkins is worth a hit if you're selling a player you don't really want for the final 2 games, like a Mateta or maybe a Marmoush.
Yeah, Marmoush, we haven't actually spoken about him. What do you think about him?
I'd sell him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd do it for a hit. Yes, apparently Alexander Isak will have surgery at the end of the season, but not until the season's ended.
Yeah, I wonder if it will come out that he's actually been managing something a bit more serious than Eddie Howe's told us about.
I did ask this. If Newcastle beat Arsenal this weekend
and lock in
Champions League football. Now, it doesn't necessarily lock in their position. Is there a chance that Wilson plays? Because isn't he out of contract?
Fine. Yeah, final game. I don't see why personally. Like, if Isak's been fit for every game, I think he would. I think he'd obviously want to start. You could see an early sub.
Yeah, it's just if it was Wilson's last Newcastle game.
Yeah, but how do they lock it in? Do they have to? Is a win enough, or do Chelsea have to lose?
No, a win would be enough.
What if Chelsea, Villa, and Forest all won?
And Newcastle also won. They basically secured it unless Villa overturn a 14 goal difference.
Okay, yeah, so probably not happening.
No. But that's my only other thought is, but then if I sell Isak, because I'm not certain he starts in 38, but that's because they've beaten Arsenal, then he's probably scored. So it doesn't really make much sense.
And it's probably the unlikely. Like, I don't think they're going to beat Arsenal, do you?
No. Cool. Let's wrap it up there. Thank you, Tom. We'll be back next week for one final week. Hopefully, we will have Andy back with us for the final game week. He said he will.
Andy right now? He did well this week, didn't he?
No, I don't think he did. I think he was like us.
He got Haaland as well, actually, I think. Yeah, unlucky. Like me.
Yeah. Cool. As Janko saying in the chat, Arsenal are not completely guaranteed top 5.
But they've got a Southampton ticket.
Well, exactly, yeah. But hopefully they lose to Arsenal and then they lose to Newcastle, and then there's no doubt about all the Arsenal players starting on the final day because they still need to secure Champions League football.
If they lost to Newcastle and everybody else won, they would be 4th. Yeah, but then they'd have to lose to Southampton for us to overtake them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not. Yeah, but yeah, hopefully they're still going to be bang up for Southampton. That would obviously be good for FPL.
Cool. Thank you all very much. Have a lovely weekend. Good luck to you in game week 37. And yeah, we'll catch you all next week.
Thanks, guys.
What do you think?